Welcome back to the Sports Business Virtual Summit. Now we're I'll focus on sports startups. We've got Justin at, how do you say that? KinoTek?
Yep.
That's right. And Nem at multicasting.io. Welcome, gentlemen, to the first ever Sports Business Virtual Summit.
It's great to be here. We're really glad to join.
Nem, so I'm going to kick it to you first. I want to hear a little bit more about your background on you personally. And then I know you got some things that you're going to show as far as your technology and your company, but just give us a little bit of background on yourself and then Justin can go next.
Sure. Hopefully you guys can see the screen.
Yep, I can see that.
So I've been in the software development world for about 20 plus years. I've actually worked at probably every single carrier and almost every OEM in the space. I started working in wireless a very long time ago, where flip phones were the only thing that existed and you had WML on a phone, which is a very long time ago. I actually started developing some of the very first Brew applications on Verizon, as well as Palm Pilot applications. So I've been in the industry for a very long time. One of the things I like to tell people I worked on, and it just glazes over their face sometimes, is VZ Navigator. And people are like, what's VZ Navigator? I'm like, well, it was Google Maps on a flip phone. So if you could imagine how much technology and code it took to shrink down turn-by-turn navigation onto a flip phone, the world is very different. We had 1 meg of RAM at that point to work with, and people will just say he's the old guy in the room. I did not use punch cards, but close. So Multicasting.io is a real-time social platform designed for event streaming. So if you really want to think about it, what we're trying to do is we're trying to enable other application providers to take real-time video. And when I mean real-time, I mean sub 1 second, 500 millisecond real-time video, and allow for everyone at an event to become their own broadcaster. And the reason this becomes important, and I'll go through our history, when you guys say we're a startup, we're as starting up as you can get. We formed our company just around March of 2020. We completed our beta development in around October. We were invited to the Google Anthos integrated service providers on their platform in December. We joined the T-Mobile Accelerator in April, and we actually did a live demo of a fully functioning venue and event over 5G just this past month. Wow. Now, people really say, well, what do you need to do? And what are the things you could do in fan innovation? And I think if you look at the type of people that are going to events and the type of people that are going to these venues, they're getting younger and younger, and their attention span is getting shorter and shorter. So what you end up with is trying to give the fans something to do, like John Walker says, other than just being at the game. They're doing a lot of things with augmented reality and place shifting people, but everyone also wants to experience the event slightly differently. So I think it becomes important to understand who are the people that are coming to these events, millennials, Gen Z guys, and their growth in user-generated content has exponentially grown over the last several years, where people are very used to short forms of content. They're very used to live streaming. If you look at the history of user-generated content, it was predominantly 10% of the people making 90% of the content, and the rest of the people were just watching. And that trend has changed, where everyone is now comfortable being live. Everyone wants to be part of the experience, and everyone wants to be engaged. They want to share their view. They want to share their experience with everyone else. And what our platform allows you to do is do that. Now, you'll notice if you're on TikTok, Instagram, or anything else, there are people on a constant basis just sharing their experience. But what you're seeing now is a singular view. You're seeing one guy's experience at a Laker game, one guy watching Phil Mickelson win the PGA championship. Now, imagine if you could take that, you could remove the blockers of 4G, which are really single view videos, low quality bit rates, single frames, and not really real time. The videos you see on Facebook Live or Instagram are anywhere from 2 to 15 seconds delayed. With 5G and things like Google Anthos or Amazon's Wavelength, you get super high quality video. You get actual real-time video, sub 500 milliseconds. Basically, you're blinking your eye. You could see high quality video, but you could also see 6 streams at a time. And you can actually, with our platform, you can publish and become a streamer while you're also watching 3 other streams, which is a one-of-a-kind solution that we've developed.
Jeez.
Now, our platform is really designed to be that. It's a platform. We've designed it so that you can take bits and pieces of it as segregated environments. You can use our media server. You can use our event configuration platform, our ticket controlling mechanisms, seat mapping, user management, and what we like to call a reverse highlight engine. Hopefully you'll see that in the next slide, what we mean by reverse highlighting an engine. Now, building an SDK allows us to basically go to much larger companies as a B2B platform and say, hey, you already have engaged fans. You already have an engaged marketplace. The NFL, the PGA, MLB, whoever it may be in the future, not saying they are clients yet, but it allows them to take our ecosystem and directly inject it into their current platforms by packaging up our SDK, by creating shorter development timelines. But people are like, well, is it only sports? And no, it really isn't. It actually runs through the gambit of, we have the same SDK running on both Android and iOS that create completely different applications that you're noticing. So this is an example of fan casting, our application running, and now I'm creating a highlight over here. So reverse highlighting is basically recording everything the user sees and then saying, you know what, this last snippet that I saw, these last 15, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was, I want to record that piece of history. You can't normally do that if you're just recording on your phone, because you don't know when history is going to happen. You don't know when the next home run is. You don't know when someone's going to hit a 3-point shot. And then what we do is we gather everyone at the event that was streaming and merge all of their content together into a single view. So now you can watch the replay from everyone's vantage point, not just your own.
That's
but
wild.
Our use case, yeah, it's kind of crazy when you actually see it work. So one of the things we did at the live demo was we literally had a bunch of fans around the arena, and if they saw a home run or a stolen base or they saw a crazy play, if they hit the highlight button, we'd then be able to review it and see it all together later. So we span basically every use case, from live sports and entertainment to private events and public events. You know, think about family members not being able to come to a wedding, and you send them a Zoom link and there's like 50 people watching one Zoom link. How much more interesting would it be if everyone had some wedding app on their phone from whatever, wedding.com or Evite or whoever it is, and you're literally watching everyone engaged in the event. You feel like you're there because everyone turns into a broadcaster. And that's really, you know, the gist of multicasting. And hopefully, if you guys have any questions, you can reach me directly at nem@multicasting.io or just www.multicasting.io.
That's great. I love being able to see those visuals too. So walk me through the revenue side, the business side of multicasting. So you said it's B2B. Are you going out? Are you selling to the NBA, MLS, or individual teams, or what does that look like?
We are in active talks with some very large carriers, as the carriers have the relationship and the broadcast rights and the sponsorship rights with the major leagues. And so for us, you know, being a very small company, part of the process in being in this world is being able to prove that what you have actually works. And working with a technology partner to together deploy a solution becomes a lot easier. It's also because the carrier is, I don't want to call it the bottleneck, but they're the threshold in order for your application to actually get the best sort of speed, which is why we work with companies like Google, who have edge computing with Anthos, companies like for example, Verizon Wireless that has edge computing on Amazon's wavelength, we have access to these edge compute platforms because of the nature of our application and infrastructure. So our sort of path is really through the carriers, through the people that own these licensing rights, and then giving them the tools they need to get out the door quickly. I don't know if anyone's worked with a very large company. They have a lot of blocks, as a large company probably should. But we want to help them speed that up by literally giving them a fully fledged SDK and saying, all you need to do is change a couple of triggers and you're up and running.
Gotcha. And then hence the reason why you went through the T-Mobile accelerator, right?
Exactly. So they, to their credit, they have definitely accelerated things.
There you go. And so from a team, like, did you guys walk through the process of like, if we go through T-Mobile accelerator, are we not able to work with a Verizon type of company, or do you think that
No,
they just
they
sync
don't.
together and
They don't do any of that, and we
Okay.
wouldn't want to be caught in one of those situations. As a small company, we have to keep every door open.
Sure.
So we have to see where it takes us next. T-Mobile has been great in their accelerator and giving us sort of like the information we need, helping us open doors, getting the right people to see the product, because with these large companies, it's always very hard to find the right contact. It becomes exceedingly difficult over time to find the right person who not only believes in your idea, but wants to give a very small company a chance to prove that their technology works.
Gotcha. And the team, you don't have to give me specifics, but traditionally most accelerators take equity and they also give, they have a funding round as well. Is T-Mobile an equity partner? Is Verizon equity partners, or how
Not
does
yet.
that relationship look?
We haven't even engaged them in equity or any sort of talks like that. They're right now just helping us from both a product, marketing, and technical perspective.
Gotcha. And I'm sure they're phenomenal partners from that standpoint.
They are amazing. I mean, for me to go out and get 18 phones to test with is not so easy, but for them to send me 18 phones is a lot easier.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. And what's the process of like, so obviously they have like the bigger sports arenas, the licensing, broadcasting, but what about like AAA type of ones or smaller leagues or teams like that? Have you guys approached those at all?
There are some discussions somewhere in the backgrounds about the other leagues. Our application, I wouldn't say strictly relies on 5G, but it works way, way better on 5G. And I think that's part of the reason the carriers are looking at our technology, is because we sort of solve the why do you need this question. And part of why you need it is in order to get the bandwidth to get 6 streams or publishing and viewing simultaneously and generating highlights and creating truly real-time immersive experiences actually requires 5G. Like there's probably a lot of 5G use cases that don't require it, but ours really does, which it makes it a compelling story for them.
How can you potentially stitch together without 5G and just put it on a delay, or no?
You can, but then the fan experience disappears. The beauty of what our platform does is if you're holding the phone at the ballpark or the arena and you're looking at your screen and you're looking at the person on the field, it's identical. It's nearly impossible at 500 milliseconds to notice any difference in the swing of the bat.
Gotcha. And so for me as a fan, I'm sitting in the stands, I pull up the app, I'm now part of the broadcasting team. How does that work for me? I have to download the app, right? Obviously.
Yep.
Walk me through that process, and like, why would I do it on your platform as opposed to just doing it on Instagram in front of my 10 followers,
So I think right? So part of the way our platform's designed protects the broadcast rights. So you as someone who's on Instagram or Facebook and just goes live, right? What you're sharing is never going to be real time. So you're never gonna, what they're seeing and what you're seeing will definitely be different. And what you're getting by using the technology is being able to share it with everyone that's at the arena. So the design of the application is to enclose the broadcast rights for people like the MLB, for people like the NFL who have strict broadcast rights. As a consumer, we've suggested to some of the partners that we've talked to gamify some of these things. So like, who created the best highlight, who has the most highlight views, turn them into super fans, and then incentivize them by saying, hey, if your highlight is viewed the most, we'll send you 10% off the next game ticket. If your highlight is viewed, 1,000 times, we'll actually let you buy playoff tickets at like a 50% discount. We're trying to engage the fans that are really the cream of the crop of that industry, and then slowly engage the other ones that aren't, to become, more a part of the experience. If you go to a ballpark, you'll see people are just doing it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. There's no doubt. Ballpark, park, you name it. People have their phones up. In movie theaters. They got their phones up regardless.
And part of the reason it's built as an SDK is, let's say, for example, we were to talk to the MLB or anyone like that. There's already the MLB ballpark app. There's already the MLB app. There's the NFL app. There's, every NBA team has its own application. Every NFL team has their own application. It becomes easier to take your current user base. Once they've bought a ticket, right? The ticket lives in that app. You scan your ticket, you get to the ballpark, and the app basically says, hey, did you know you could become a broadcaster? What are the reasons you should broadcast? One, the reverse highlight engine, right? You'll never miss a recording ever again, is one of the reasons we created it. You could sit there for an hour and record and use your entire battery and use all of the memory on your phone and capture nothing, because nothing exciting happened. Or you could stream to the cloud, and every time something exciting happens, just press highlight, and that highlight's saved forever. So we're trying to give them reasons to make it more interesting for them. And one of them is the reverse highlighting engine.
Interesting. Yeah, I know, like from a fan experience part, that's why they have the Jumbotron and they pan to the fans, right? Or they have the kissing cam, and then that's all the fans talking about for the next day or two, is I was up on the Jumbotron. But in this similar fashion, is like, I had the most viewed highlight. I got a free pizza at the game because of that type of thing.
Exactly. So they can gamify this stuff. And honestly, you can turn, let's say everyone turns their phone around and say, hey, if you've downloaded the ballpark or whatever app they have in there, turn your phone around and send us a clip. And then all those clips get sent to the station, and then they pick it out and stitch something together where it becomes like, you don't have to have the cameras pointed at 100 people in order to get someone on the Jumbotron. You can use the application to send people to the Jumbotron.
It's fascinating. I love it. Cool. I appreciate the walkthrough on that. I'm going to come back to you, but now I'm going to kick it over to Justin here. Yeah, Justin, there we go.
So actually I have, here, let me see.
And you're a co-host if you want to share your screen here, but you walk through a little bit about your history as well, and how you came up with the product, your athletic background and everything, and kind of just set the pace.
Yeah. And can you guys see what screen are you guys seeing? Are you guys seeing?
Yep. I see your logo.
The logo. Okay, cool. Yep. All right. Yeah. So it's just, so appreciate it. I'm Justin, CEO, co-founder of KinoTek. Basically what we do at KinoTek is look at the way you move. We assess human movement, and we evaluate human movement in real time, post-processing, any way that, clinicians, coaches need to look at their athletes. So let me go. So I'll go here, show you a quick video. So our product, Movely, first fully deployable system of its kind. It can be in a gym, anywhere you really need to be, provide real-time movement assessments through computer vision, provide you, insights on your body that really you've never had access to before, right? So you can look at joint angles, range of motion, asymmetries, one side stronger than the other, muscle activation, all, uninvasive, through just computer vision and machine learning, done in real time, all on the cloud. So you can look at all three planes of motion, and create it in a way that increases the communication between the athlete or patient and then the coach or clinician. So we've developed what we call this value-driven ecosystem, where we provide the patient or the athlete with trackable progress and improvement over time, and improve their overall education and confidence in their movement, and decreasing their chance for re-injury, and overall just more confidence. So, there's no injuries that'll ever come about. In the movement clinic, we're the, movement clinic, this is like also athletic trainers or really sports medicine. We provide them reliable, objective data that's repeatable over time, improve the quality of care. And one thing that's always been a struggle for coaches and clinicians is be able to communicate why an athlete's receiving any sort of care, or why and when things happened, and get them to buy into the programming. But the way we've developed our UI, using a lot of gamification, that's all done instantly. We're able to overall, increase claim efficiency, provide clear justification of cares, for insurance. Think about this in the sports world, like the front office, and overall just decreasing chance of injuries and surgeries, which can save sports teams millions, if not billions of dollars, and and certain providers millions. So I mean, it's pretty fragmented market. So we're the first fully vertically integrated solution, basically meaning we from the at home to the mobile, providing data and insights, and being also involved in the movement clinic, and truly kind of disrupting a field that's very fragmented and spread out traditionally. So we've had some pretty exciting partnerships. So we're one of 3 companies in the world on Microsoft's pre-alpha list. So this means that, basically we're 18 to 24 months ahead of what the world and everyone will see, including our competitors, when it comes to computer vision. We already have like co-selling, co-marketing opportunities with Microsoft, and we direct communication with leadership there, at the, from Microsoft Health and the computer vision team. We've done multiple research studies with MIT, University of Maine. We work with women in sports tech. And have some really exciting. We were actually just an accelerator, just like NEM, with LEAD. It's called the LEAD Sports and Health Tech Accelerator, based in Lake Nona, Florida. And Verizon is one of the partners in that as well. So we were able to work with Verizon and Microsoft for the past couple of months, which has been really exciting. So right now, we're just trying a tool in the clinic for clinicians. This time next year, we're going to have a mobile app and we'll be the first company that can do remote movement evaluations through telehealth. So you can be chatting with your athletic trainer, or or clinician or physical therapist, and get real-time insights on your movement as you're just on like a Zoom call like this, right? So just like how we're talking right here, your clinician, coach, whoever is getting all these insights on your body while they're just kind of or doing everything like you normally would. And then eventually, headed in towards, real-time injury risk. Where I like to say this, where we're headed is you'll be walking down the street and, you turn the corner too fast, you'll get a notification on your phone that says, hey, if you do that again, you can tear your ACL. So it's really exciting, to see where we're headed and how much it's all kind of come together. And, our mission at the company is to make movement analysis mainstream. Ultimately, what that means is, provide insights and on your movement, human movement, for the first time to the everyday consumer, athletes alike, everyone, so they can take control and be empowered to improve their movement. So I'll pause there. That's a brief, kind of overview of the company.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating. I think that, this space in general is at the very beginning, but before I dive into a bunch of questions that I have, I want to go back to what you just said of like, I turn the corner too fast and then I get an alert that says, you might have just, or if you keep doing that, you're going to tear something. How do you do that?
Yeah. So really, what we use is, spatial data. And then also, where we're headed is, we started out working with using wearables. So, IMU sensors on the body, like you would think of when you think of motion capture or, any sort of, CGI, things like that.
Like most people probably seen like a video game, like behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's where, we saw a lot of potential for growth when we first started. And when the pandemic hit, we pivoted to computer vision because people didn't want to use the same stuff over again. And that was ultimately, the best decision we made, and opened up doors, with Microsoft and Verizon, leveraging 5G for kind of real-time insights. And using, how like you walk with Fitbit, and or like Whoop, touch how many steps you're taking, what your heart rate, HRV, things like that. With machine learning, we can take a lot of these insights, and with our kind of proprietary algorithms, we can kind of map out your body and see how different things are affecting you entirely as a person. And through that, and how wearables are just kind of getting better and better, right? So when we were using wearables, we started out in 2018, we had 17 on the body, and then by by 2020, we had 6, right? So like the number of wearables that you need on your body are just like decreasing as time goes on. And eventually, the world's going to see a lot more smart clothing. So like companies like Lululemon, you'll see them making acquisitions in space where they embed sensors and stuff in their clothing.
Right.
And as that stuff becomes more adopted, we're kind of providing the software on top of all of that to assess human movement.
Yeah, I've seen I believe Under Armour and I think it was a partnership with Tom Brady, right? They came out with some. I think it was just shirts, right? Am I right on that? Yeah.
Yeah. It was just shirts right now, but there's a lot in the works. I mean, we work with a couple of different sensor companies, and we view ourselves as like a hardware agnostic. So from computer vision to wearables, we can integrate with pretty seamlessly and provide you movement analysis.
That's maybe you could use some of Nem's old mapping on the flip phone when you guys are.
No, totally. Yeah, no, that was pretty sweet. Yeah, no, where we're working with doing a lot of stuff with kind of post processing too, and there's a couple different sports teams that we've talked to, and one in particular that we're looking, they have a big smart stadium, and we can provide real time insights on every player on the field's movement as they're like in a game setting, right? So now we can like literally say, LeBron James, right, is his length between his steps, down the basketball court is shortening. He's getting fatigued. He may be overcompensating on one side. He's at risk for injury, this percentage. And that's all done in real time that the sports medicine staff gets on their phone throughout the game.
That's kind of wild. Talk about, let's kick it back really quick. How did you even come about this? And then when you came up with that initial idea, did you start drawing it out? How did you go from from concept to idea to prototype?
Yeah, so I was an athlete at the University of Maine, and I was a swimmer, and I was pretty good. My freshman year, I broke a school record, but I also got a shoulder injury. And when I got that shoulder injury, what I thought was not even close to the peak of my career, right? I was less than like a second away from Olympic trials, and I was super stoked with like where I was headed with my swimming career. And then I got this injury, and then it pulls me out of my sport, for about a year. And throughout that year, I was told it was a labrum tear, which is usually supposed to end your career, especially for a swimmer, because it limits your range of motion and causes a bunch of different other issues. And everyone told me to quit, and I said no, I'm not done yet, right? I'm just getting started. And so like I ended up switching my degree to kinesiology, which is like the study of the human, just human body, sports medicine, everything. And when I switched my degree, I worked with the head trainers at the University of Maine and my department head, and ultimately developed my own kind of rehab program to keep me in the pool and keep me swimming when I wasn't supposed to be anymore. And my coaches were on board with it, and everything kind of worked out. And come my junior year, so after about 16 months or so of not really doing a sport, I get back into it, and then I ended up re-breaking the school record. I broke my freshman year, and that's when I realized, like, if we can only understand what our bodies better as individuals, we can take control of it and push our limits, and really try to recreate what doctors, everything like that, think is possible when it comes to human performance. And so, and at the same time, I was seeing the way that anatomy was being taught, and I didn't like it. I thought there was just a better way to do it. And working at a virtual reality lab, I saw the power of, visualizations and immersion, and how that impacts, your education, understanding of skills. So I took my experience that I've had, with my body and, my shoulder, and then also coupled that with what I was learning. And then, with my experience in human computer interaction that I got from the VR lab, and ultimately developed a new way of kind of visualizing human movement from all of that combined, and met my co-founder, David. I know, I can do some really basic computer stuff. I bet Nem can, crush me when it comes to code, but my co-founder is a lot more technical than I am. And so, he was able to bring that in, and we could really kind of take this further. And we were in, we started out, all we wanted to do was kind of visualize the muscles you were using as you were using them. So then you as a student could better understand your own anatomy, thus better understanding anatomy as a whole. And But then, it's gone, much larger than that. And we were in, we've been in the R&D phase. Well, no, not anymore, but we were in the one for about 18 months, just kind of like trying out new things, seeing what market we fit in, how this is going to fit, what are the opportunities in front of us. And ultimately, come this year, in January, after the pandemic and everything, we were finally able to kind of start getting this into our, earliest users' hands, which has been such an awesome experience. And now we're really starting to, hit our stride, per se, and really starting to grow. So it's been a crazy ride.
That's cool. And how far are you away from, like you said, being able to see LeBron James in real time, fatigued, if like you said, and see that real time data? How far is that product away from that?
It's happening as we speak. It's not specifically with LeBron, but there are some teams that we're working with that have smart stadiums. And our partnership with Microsoft puts us in the forefront of and we get access to there's this consumer electronic kind of shortage and just electronics in general, but that doesn't affect us because of our relationship with Microsoft. So we have this priority sales channel that we developed that allows us to get access to all of this, all the hardware needed, that we can put these in all the stadiums, everything needed, and we're already starting to do all that software processing, and it's really quite cool.
That is cool. And so from your business side, you are approaching the teams, trainers. Is that the angle on the sports business side, at least?
Yeah. So teams specifically, their athletic trainer, each team has like a guy that's in charge of, some call it sports performance, some call it, sports medicine and performance. But the guy who's in charge of strength conditioning, how the athlete's training, how they're preparing, how they're continuing to, stay healthy throughout the season. But then also the other side of it, which is more of the medicine side, which is, preventative, one, for injury, but also, return to play protocol. So if an athlete does get injured, and then there's just one person that's usually in charge of both. And that's the guy that, we talk to and work with the most. So we can, provide, it's really kind of seamless. It's an easy value add, right? We're able to provide them data and insights they don't have, prevent injuries, and some of their most valuable assets being the athletes. And so they can stay on the field or court longer.
True. So we're talking massive companies, right? You guys have name dropped T-Mobile, Verizon, Microsoft. You all had to raise money to get to this point, or for future purposes. For startups that are just thinking about the ideas, who are or maybe a little bit further on, how do you even establish relationships, partnerships with these massive brands? How do you go about raising funds to even get to there too? Nem, I'll start with you on this one. Maybe talk about how you even got into T-Mobile or whatever that looks like.
Well, we're self-funded at this point, so we haven't taken on investment yet, but hopefully soon. But it's basically 20 years of relationships. I mean, it's the sheer fact that I've been in the wireless industry for so long makes it a lot easier to be able to pick up the phone with someone I've worked with over the years and, knock on some doors and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. But I think in order to be able to do that, and I say this for anyone who's younger and is just starting to get into this industry, you carry your name with you everywhere you go. At the end of the day, if you have great pride in your work, if you have great pride in your relationships, if you don't burn bridges, when you call someone, even 10 years later, they'll remember you. And I think that becomes very important over time. The other thing is I have a best friend who, when we started this, we wanted to raise money. We're like, all right, let's raise $500,000 and do this. And we waited and we waited and we got promise after promise. And at some point he's like, well, you're smart enough. Why don't you just do it yourself? And I'm like, okay, fine. I got tired of waiting. I mean, I came up with this idea 4 years ago and we just kept waiting and waiting. And at some point, once 5G, I knew 5G was there. I'm like, all right, this makes sense. Yeah. And the other part of it is, at least for me, being a very technical person, I surround myself with a lot of business advisors, former COOs, former CEOs, current CEOs, people in the finance space, people in the accounting space to supplement what I don't know in that area. For me became very important. I bring up an example, everyone here's this, Larry and, Serge and these guys, they had Eric Schmidt, he really ran that thing for a while they did a lot of the other things that tech leaders do. And you see that in a lot of companies where the founders who are the tech people sometimes kind of go that way a little bit. They remain innovative and they remain in the picture, but that's been our path so far.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's yeah, no, and so for us, like we quite frankly the exact opposite. So I was right out of college. We're all right out of college. We didn't have career experience. We were starting this out to follow our dreams, and we're located in Portland, Maine, in the state of Maine, and the state of Maine has a huge they do a lot of grants and funding opportunities. So I won like every pitch competition in the state for like the first year, and that was like our initial funding. I won over like $80 something thousand in pitch competitions, and so that was like our initial funding off the ground. And then then we started writing grants as like in conjunction with a lot of them. We wrote some big government grants that we got laughed out the door on. We did a really good job with them, but they literally, like, the DoD said there's no way a 21-year-old CEO can build this company, and I was just like, all right, well, watch me. Like, I said that to them, because I did.
I love it.
and so we, and then we started, and a bunch of old guys that were super rich saw me and didn't think this is the guy that I'm going to give some of my retirement fund to, and I get it. So we really kind of just bootstrapped it hard, but we were committed to what we were doing, and didn't stop. And now this year we just raised $600,000 at the end of the year, and we're growing. We doubled in size from that, and now right now we're fundraising again, which is valuing the company at a lot of money, and it's going to be a pretty big fundraise that'll be announced here probably the next like 5 weeks. So it's pretty exciting, just to kind of see the growth, and now finally like really proving everyone that turned us down at the earliest stages that we were right all along, and then you missed your opportunity to get in for the best deal possible. So it's really exciting how we progressed, and accelerators, and it's kind of like entrepreneurs looking to do things. Accelerators, provide a lot of value, and they do accelerate, right? And Nem said it, I said it. I've been through 2 of them. One's one of the best accelerators in the world, the leading sports tech accelerator, and it was such an amazing experience to go through. I got to meet and build my network larger than I ever imagined, and because of that, I had instead of us struggling to get money, we got to choose between 9-10 different funds that wanted to lead our round, and that's a totally shifting dynamic, and being able to do that, it's just learning. Like, if you're not going to raise, the first person you ask money from is going to give it to you unless it's your parents or something, or it's your family, and they believe in you. Like, it takes a lot, to convince someone that you've never met before and you're meeting for the first time to write a check for, 25, 50, $100,000. And, and I learned that. I thought it was just like, oh, I'm just going to hopefully pitch my idea and it works. It's really about you as a person. So like Nem said, right? I mean, your relationships and who carry so much weight, and like, you never burn a bridge, because if you do, you don't know who they know, and they could know the guy that you were going to ask, for $100,000 from. And when that guy, meets you and thinks it's really cool, but then, then he's like, I'm going to do some due diligence, finds out you guys have mutual connection, talks that mutual connection, and they're like, oh yeah, no, he said that thing that one time, not that great, and that could really hurt you. And now, with future investors, you have to tell them why that guy didn't give you money. So it's all about who you know. Really never been able to burn a bridge, and also persistence too. Not salesy. If they say no, it means no, and like, go away. But right. Like, if it's just like, oh, not yet, keep us in the loop. Make sure you keep in the loop. Like, add them to an email list. Keep communication flowing. And we give there's an analogy that I heard from one of our advisors, the way to kind of, you want to give this perception that you're like the hot girl in the room, right? The one that ever, and you have, hottest girl walks into the room, everyone, all the guys want to go talk to her either. And you have to give that perception when you're talking to investors, and you can't kind of show all your cards at once. Who you're interested in, who you want to talk with, or who you want money from. You kind of want to play them all against each other, so that eventually you get the best deal possible. And it took me a while to kind of figure that out and map that out, but really excited to finally be at that spot. So yeah.
I love you can see your athletic competition in the, kind of not rubbing it in, but like, hey, you guys messed up. You didn't join us early. Now, it's your loss type of stuff. So I love the athlete competition always. Last question before I get you guys out of here. This is going really too fast. They all do. I was telling my brother yesterday, I was like, we need to make these like 2 hours or just because they just go so fast. So I hope it's going fast for you guys as well. But so talk to me about like scaling and growth, right? We've talked about 5G obviously is essential for this type of thing. And I think personally, there might be a marriage between the two companies that kind of could be cool broadcasting live, right? That we'll talk about that later. I can connect you guys. But how do we scale growth wise? Are we looking at like, Nem, from your example, you talked about wedding venues and stuff like that, other events. Justin, is it, scaling to like high school, college world, other industries, global? Talk to me about like the kind of the growth strategy and things that outside of the box that you guys are looking at too.
I mean, with us, because of the design of the platform and the way it is, every new potential partner and customer we talk to gives us an example we've never thought of before. They're like, can we do this? We're like, well, it wasn't designed for that, but yes. And so part of the difficulty sometimes, especially when you still haven't raised money, is you go to these companies and like, well, we want to try it out. Can you tweak a few things? It's really determining where in your platform you make modifications for potential customers and where you don't for us. We've garnered enough attraction now and enough proof of our platform's worth that I think scaling will be, I wouldn't say easy or challenging, but it'll be about picking the right opportunities. Because the outcome of that, the customer you pick to work with, if you have 3 customers you can work with and you can only choose one of them right now because of the limits that you have, that one becomes the determinant factor for the next one and the next one and the next one. Mm-hmm. So for us, scale is really about picking the right opportunity with the right partners, being at the right place at the right time. And we have a very large network of, friends, partners that we work with, connections into the music industry, into the sports industry, into the concert venue industry. They help us open those doors to have those conversations. So for us, scale is really about our connections.
That's great. Yeah, I've been so talking sports business for the last few days, well, usually anyways, but I didn't even think about the music world, the Coachellas even of the world that are coming back in 2022. They just announced. So yeah, I think there's massive growth opportunities for sure. Justin, what about you guys?
Yeah, so we really started focusing. We started with sports, and then pandemic hit, and everything kind of got mixed up, and then then it was into a little bit more of healthcare and health and wellness, and now it's like equally health and sports that we're kind of starting with. At least right now we're at the first like phase that we're generating revenue. We have interest from some of the larger corporations about like workplace safety. Things like that, so starting in sports, using that kind of credibility and then leveraging that with healthcare, with, doctors feel comfortable, using this data, that people don't really know, right? So it's like getting people comfortable with the data, getting people comfortable with the insights they never really had. Yeah. And then bringing awareness to the importance of it. And, that's now, right now is like, we're in the phase of getting people comfortable. And the next phase is now we need to make more people aware how important it is to get access to this data. And then from there, going into workplace safety. And actually, we have a really amazing opportunity with insurance companies. Yes. So, payers, providers, sports, workplace, and then, education and research, with the data and the insights that we're providing. we're already seeing, we can, disrupt whole industry standards of how people have assessed biomechanics, because everything's been done on ice sites or this thing called a goniometer, which is literally a plastic protractor. And that's, that's our two biggest, levels of competition, but people can't see the level of data that we can provide and insights. We're much better than a 20 degree confidence interval with a plastic protractor. So, we can get it down to within percentages of a degree, right? Levels of accuracy. And, and that's really a true game changer, because now we can get insights on, the human body like we've never really had before. And I think like Fit Insider just did they just did a news story this past week, like the movement market is like going to be one of the largest markets in the world. It's going to be valued right now. It's valued at like $1.9 trillion. And, there's very few people in it, and it's very fragmented. So we're kind of hitting this trend, at the perfect time.
Yeah. I mean, you look at, and you're not in the same category, but you're kind of in that, like the hyper ices of the world, recovery, as well as preventative type of stuff. And I'm sure you've seen the press releases with the amount of athletes that have come in and invested, the valuations that they're getting. There's no question. I think that you guys are in that world, if not greater opportunity. So kudos to both of you. I appreciate the time. We're out of time. So I definitely, if I can make any introductions or help you guys in any capacity, let me know. Nem, we had on Athletes Unlimited earlier today. We've got a bunch of leagues, teams. If you guys need any introductions, if I can help in any way, if you want us to create something here, you want us to be beta users for any new products, let us know. Happy to do so.
Sure. I mean, I'm waiting for Justin to put this inside of like a Gold's Gym or inside of like a 24-hour fitness. Yeah. So it could tell me why my squat sucks so bad.
Totally.
Exactly.
Like a completely virtual trainer. Like, all right, I'd probably be willing to pay like, something for this thing to watch me squat for a little bit of time and tell me, hey, you're leaning too far forward. Your knees are in the wrong place. Your distance isn't good. You're too fat, whatever. Whatever it could tell me. But
alert.
Yeah, I can see how like amazing that product's gonna be over time. And to the point about, raising money and people saying no, I think there's only a few, I wouldn't say a few, but there aren't a lot of people in this world that can really see the future, right? There's a lot of people that have a very closed-minded approach towards technology and what's going to happen 3 to 4 years from now, and finding the right person that can actually see that is the kind of investor you want. Because everyone talks about 5G. Yes, it's in a lot of locations, but it's nowhere near where it's going to be in 3 years. Yeah. We're at like the droplet of 5G. In the next 5 years, 5G will basically be powering legitimately everything that's going to be moving from your car to everything else. And it'll come from 1,000 different places. We're talking about 5G now from carriers, but you think about Elon Musk and his satellite network. You think about the other guys that are working on satellite technologies, balloon technologies, other things that Google's working on. It's going to be very different in 5 years. And I think that's the kind of person you try to find as an investor, someone who doesn't see today, but someone who sees tomorrow. And I think that becomes critical.
Yeah, no, very super well said. It's crazy. Like, 5G's out, but they're already started to develop 6G, like 6G's already being built. So, and same with you, Nem, I love what you're doing too. There's a lot of use cases, even, and you'd be really interested, with the telehealth market and like doing a lot of kind of post-processing. And, in my world, it's, there's definitely a lot of possibilities. So, I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate the time today. Let me know, like I said, if you guys need anything else, I'm always here.
Take care. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good luck, Justin. Be well.
Thanks, you too.